Good morning and welcome. I see that it's 10 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started today. Thank you for those of you who are joining us for our third and final webinar around personalized and proficiency-based learning. My name is Crystal Smith. I serve as the Education Innovation Manager at the Office of Public Instruction here in Montana. And our agency has partnered with KnowledgeWorks to help support this work and being able to support those of you out in the field. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Abby to get us started today.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. And we are excited today. My name is Abby Everett, and I work for KnowledgeWorks. And KnowledgeWorks is a national foundation based in Cincinnati, Ohio, that we've been creating the future of learning for about 20 years. And we get to partner with learning communities to create purposeful paths and places to ensure each student graduates for what's next. So today we have some panelists with us, and the title of this webinar is Scaling and Sustaining Personalized and Proficiency-Based Learning. And this is the third in this series, like Crystal said, and the first one was about what is personalized and proficiency-based learning. The second one was about getting started or beginning your journey. And so now we have some panelists with us today that are going to talk about their journeys and the milestones many years into their journey and what it looks like to scale and sustain the work. And so I'd like to introduce our panelist. So we have Meg Padilla here from Santa Cruz Valley 35 District in Southern Arizona. And then also Nick LaFave and Nicole Thompson. We have a district rep and a principal, a site principal representing Clover School District in Northern South Carolina, which I have to think about when I say. And I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. And Meg, if you want to kick us off, just introduce yourself and where your district is and about it, and then we'll kick it over to Nick and Nicole.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. I'm the Teaching Learning Assessing Director in our school district. We are Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District 35. So it's a mouthful. We often just say SCV 35. I've been here for the past 17 years as a middle school English language development teacher, instructional coach, and instructional specialist. And now I'm the director for our department. I live in our community, and my 3 boys attend school at one of the schools in our district. We have 5 schools in total. We serve 3,600 students, more or less. Hopefully we don't go to less. We are located in very southern Arizona, just a few miles north of the US-Mexico border. We're south of Tucson, north of Nogales, if you're familiar with the area at all. Because of that, a significant portion of our student population, they are English learners, and we're proud to serve them. About 50% at the elementary level are English learners, and by the time we get to high school, that number is between 10 and 15%. We've been on our PCBL journey with KnowledgeWorks since 2019, so I really look forward to sharing pieces of our story with all of you. Thanks.
Thanks, Meg. And then Nick or Nicole, I don't know which one will introduce.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Thompson. I am principal at Griggs Road Elementary. This is my 6th year serving as principal. I started my career as a high school English teacher, and then became an assistant principal at a middle school in our district, and made my way to the elementary school. So really seeing that true progression of learning from K-12 has been one of the highlights of my career, and seeing the importance of making sure to bridge all of those very specific milestones for our students and helping them to see that. And that student agency piece has been very instrumental in my personal growth as an educator, and helping others to see that even if they're a kindergarten student, we still have a huge component and a part in making sure that they walk across the stage and ready for their next step. What that looks like in 12th grade, we can't wait till high school. And it's honestly too late to wait till they hit 6th grade in middle school, because they've already chosen a lot of their progressions and their trajectory that they see their life based on the situations in which they're community may have surrounded them with. So I am super excited. My passion is education. I believe in public education. And I think that being able to be in a district that supports and values student ownership has been huge. For us, I was able to work with Nick as a teacher at Clover High School, and really being able to have that innovative approach since, and that out of the box thinking has always been something that has been supported and welcomed, no matter what administrator I've kind of worked under. But I think taking that to a leadership role inside of the school as a principal has also helped me to grow as a leader, to see where our teachers also need that support, and providing just as much support for our teachers as we do for our students. For me, this journey began really in 2019 when I became an AP at Griggs. I became the principal in 2020. Of course, that was COVID, and we were really deep in the work of personalized learning and our journey with KnowledgeWorks. And then, of course, we got shut down. So being able to have that stamina and the grit that my staff has had to continue to do what's best for students has been phenomenal to watch.
All right. And I'm Nick Lefebvre. I had the privilege of working in Clover School District, overseeing our personalized learning initiatives and our gifted and talented program and instructional technology, a lot of the fun things. And prior to that, I worked with Nicole at the high school years ago. This is my 27th year in education. About 20 of those were in the classroom as a science teacher, middle and high school level, and then became pretty much a technology coach and into innovation coach at the elementary level, then back to the high school, and now in this district office role for the last about year and a half. With personalized learning, we're really all over the place. We started before the pandemic, like Nicole said, and some schools like hers ran with it from the beginning. They got it, it clicked, it served a need for them, and they just really ran. When the pandemic hit, and a lot of us took a step back, and it kind of became something we forgot about. We had a lot of pockets of greatness, and as Robin will tell you, it's really I think she called it pockets of, no, it wasn't. What do we call the pockets? Random acts, sorry about that. Random acts of personalized learning. So we had some schools who were way ahead. We had some rooms that were way ahead. We had other people who didn't even know we'd started yet. In fact, we had administrators when I started out in this role to scale this who weren't even sure that personalized learning was a priority in our district. So really, since I've been in this role, I've had the chance to step back, try to bring as many teachers to the table as I can. I don't think these changes happen from the ground up or from the top down. They have to happen from the ground up. So we bring teachers together, and really we're trying to build ways to effectively scale this, yet honor where our schools are in their journey. Nicole's school is so far ahead of where I would expect anyone to be at this point. We need to honor that and support them in every way we can. At the same time, we need to bring the schools who are just now saying, all right, this is what we're focusing on. We need to let them get on board to address the needs of their students, which are unique. So, it shouldn't be shocking. It's a personalized approach to personalized learning. We have to honor that same agency we do with our kids, with our teachers and our principals as well. So, and Clover School District, great school district in South Carolina. We're, just to give a point of reference, we're just outside of the Charlotte metro area. You can be in downtown Charlotte within about 35 minutes drive if traffic's good, but at the same time, we still have a bit of a small town feel about us, and we are rapidly growing. So it's a great place.
Thank you. Well, these are our panelists, and we get to hear a little bit more about their journey and what they're figuring out, what their next steps are. And so our first question I'm going to throw in chat so that we all have it, and Meg's going to kick us off, but it's really about if you could share about your milestones in your journey. And one thing I do want to point out before you start, Meg, is that in Montana, the term that is used is personalized and proficiency-based learning, at least at the state level. And all of our districts have similar or like terms. And so you might hear Meg use personalized competency-based learning, or for short PCBL. And we hear that around the country, different names for a similar experience. And so just know that when we're talking, it's around this personalized and proficiency-based learning model. go ahead, Meg, talk to us about your journey.
Yeah, so some of our milestones, I'd say we started off, we were on a journey for getting all of us educators on the same page with our learning expectations. And around the same time, we had the good fortune of partnering with KnowledgeWorks and the Center for the Future of Arizona here in Arizona. And we were working on simultaneously while learning about PCBL, working to prioritize our academic standards. We had not yet done that. And we actually started that around 2017. And that was a huge undertaking. Like now we're sustaining all of that, right? And constantly coming back to it. But we started off with prioritizing our standards, every single K-12 course, every single teacher. So we had everyone involved, not just like a subset committee. So it took longer, right? When you involve everyone and when you expect it from everyone. We then developed unit assessments, which often looked like rubrics. Some of it looked like selected response assessments. That's where we were at that point. Then we developed proficiency scales, and that was our first step. We did that before we transitioned to basing our lessons and all of our feedback and our grades on standards. We're now doing that, but we started off first having our teachers develop proficiency scales for those first priority standards that we identified. After doing that, then we tweaked some of our assessments again. During this time, we made visits, school and district visits to some districts in Ohio and Wisconsin. And that was just so great. It felt like we were working on our foundation, and then we were seeing like what is 1 to 3 steps ahead of where we are right now, so that we could start goal setting for what are we going to do with this foundation once we've built it. Then after those visits, we went full board K through 12th grade, doing what we call standards-based learning and reporting. So ensuring that our lessons are units, right? They're grounded on our first priority standards, not just here's what my curriculum says, right? On page 1, let's go. That it's what are our first 3 priority standards, and then how am I going to use my tools to help my kids get there? That was a shift for us. And then reporting their learning based on their grades. So we report with extending, proficient, developing, and emerging for report cards and on what we call our learning checks. And then along the way, now I'm getting to like what we're currently working on. We've been working on acceleration and pathway options for our students. One that came around naturally was with our art teachers. And so that's been great, working on acceleration for the arts. And then we're also working on that for ELA, math, and then also we're going to start to expand to science and social studies and thinking about how can we have our middle schoolers who are demonstrating that they're ready to accelerate, take some of their high school courses while in middle school, because we've expanded our dual enrollment options at our high school. So that's more of like, right, a system of where we're trying to help students understand what is that progression that they want to see in their school career. Also, all along the way, we've been working with KnowledgeWorks, and they helped us, guided us. We developed a portrait of a graduate with our community input. We've been learning about, strategies such as data trackers, incorporating choice and voice so that we're developing agency, small group instruction, and I think I'll just tell everyone along the way, I think we muddied the waters a little bit in thinking that some of those strategies were the goal. And so we've been doing a lot of work of, remember, learner agency and improving our learning outcomes. Those are the main goals. And these are all strategies to help us get there. So I just share that, want you guys to see, our dirty laundry of sometimes you start to make a strategy the goal. And the latest for us, we're working on identifying, based on all these things we've been doing since 2019, these what I would say strategies, what's really sticking to the top to become what we would call a learner-centered approach. So we want to move beyond just like, hey, we're personalizing learning, that actually we're trying to create learner-centered systems so that our students are engaged at school, that they know how they're doing, they're able to communicate that with their parents. And so we've been working with some of our the people who have been involved for a number of years and have tried multiple strategies of kind of what's sticking to the top. And so right now we have like 5 elements that we've identified, and that's what we're working on, preparing that and then starting to share that with the rest of our learning community to get feedback on that. So I hope that those milestones, some of them weren't necessarily all about PCBL, but building that foundation was really important for us to get started so that we weren't all going in, a bunch of different directions. That's it for me.
Thanks so much, Meg. Nick, I think you're going to kick us off next for Clover's perspective from South Carolina.
All right. There's so many things that I could comment on from what you were just saying there. That's like, yes, yes. Oh my goodness. I think a lot of us going through very similar things, especially that change from the perspective of personalized learning to student-centered learning is what I'm struggling with. My official title, I believe, has something to do with personalized learning in it. So for me to say we should get rid of that as a term is probably not the smartest career move, but that's not going to stop me. I think personalized learning sometimes gives this idea that it's like a checkbox thing. It's an initiative. Check it, move on. When are we there? We're never there. So I think that moving it to student-centered teaching and learning, it's just good teaching. We could reframe it as that, and sometimes I'd like to, but I also don't want teachers to think that, oh, that passed and we're now on to the next thing. Awesome. So it is a tough line, but like I said, when we started, there were no real expectations as a district. It was go work with our Office of Personalized Learning. This is pre-pandemic. See what they have going on. If there's some things that you can use to transform your classroom or to solve some problems you're having, awesome, run with it. And then I think we just kind of got sidetracked, except for some schools that really ran. We got sidetracked by COVID. So like I said, when we came back together, it was all things personalized learning. And when I started, I had to look at from kind of a needs assessment point of view, how do we scale this and bring those pockets together? We don't want everyone on the same page, but how do we get all schools really diving in? And like I said before, did a survey of our instructional leaders, and it was less than 20% of our principals indicated that this was even a priority in their class, in their schools at all, even though it was our #1 strategic goal as a school district. That was a bit surprising to me, and I really had to dig into why. So we spent a lot of time. What we found, teachers really wanted clear expectations. Teachers and principals, for that matter, they wanted clear expectations, a convincing vision of what is that future you're asking us to move towards. What does it look like? Which is one of the hardest things to do in personalized learning. But then also a plan of action to get us there. So we brought together impact teams from every school. So each school had impact teams consisting of teachers, administrators, coaches that came in to represent their schools and build out what does personalized learning look like in Clover? What do we want to get out of it? What's the purpose? And we shaped that over time into a bunch, basically our own framework. So we have a bunch of indicators, 29-ish indicators came out of that. And we've had those set up in a way so you can look at it from what does this look like in a classroom on a continuum from student-centered, getting to student-centered rather all the way on this side, but then starting from a very teacher-centered classroom to a learner-driven classroom. We've worked with those, and we're now getting into the setting implementation benchmarks and tracking our progress because all schools are in different places. But it's rapid iterations, it's rapid prototyping kind of thing, because we have a meeting coming up with all the impact teams. And one of the things that we're recognizing right away is they just weren't given enough time this year to do the implementation monitoring. It wasn't a bad idea, I don't think yet. The feedback's been positive, but it was just when. So we've got to remove that barrier and find time for them, and I think we are. Like I said, it's been quite a mission, but having our own framework has been helpful because the state has one, but it is designed purposely to be broad because the inherent variability in personalized learning. I mean, it wouldn't be personalized if it was something that was set in stone. This was our way of showing what could it look like and how can we approach it from very different points as schools. So I said, scaling it's a work in progress. We're constantly reflecting. Our schools just turned in their self-reflections this last week, and I've been going through those, and it has been really nice to see the growth in areas that people are proud of. But I don't want to talk too much. I really Nicole's school is living this. Anyone who's been to Griggs, you've seen it. So I'm going to be quiet and let Nicole take over here.
Thank you, Nick. And what I do love, when we first started, I think we went to a KnowledgeWorks and we were so excited because Robin was there and the team that went with me, I guess you would call them our go-getters, people who would think outside the box, those teachers. And so we came back, we had this great plan of how we were going to let our other teachers know. And the best part about it all, I think, gave us the opportunity to realize that in this, just like our students, sometimes you do well at things, and then sometimes things are epic failures. And we came back, we had this great plan of how we were going to let all of our staff know. We created a pathway. It was based on the game board Candyland. Everybody get to choose which way you go. We had it color coded, and we were trying to introduce pathways. We thought that would be the best place for everybody to start. You totally could get that. It was an epic fail. But it was honestly because what we had was those teachers who were like, oh, we might fail at something. That's okay. We'll just keep trying again, kind of falling forward. But in education, I'm a firm believer that we all know that at the end of every decision that we make, there is a student that we are responsible for. And I am a firm believer that teachers aren't not necessarily willing to try new things, or it's not that they don't want to step outside of their comfort zone. It's because if they do and they fail, then it's that mindset of that we fail students, and they need that safety net. And so that is from the very beginning what I encourage teachers. I have for 6 years. Fall forward. It's okay if it fails, then I'm going to celebrate that failure of whatever component of that student-centered approach, that personalized approach that you are bringing to the table, because then we can work together on what does it look like to make it better. But what that has allowed us to do is through that work to really provide that student agency and ownership piece, because our students now will tell you what works for them as a student and what doesn't work for them as a learner, and things that we should try and things that we should never try again. And, sometimes that's hard to hear from a 5-year-old, but it is so empowering because they totally can tell us what they need and what they don't need. And sometimes we have to coach them as to what they need and don't need. But knowing that as we see their progression of learning as a 5-year-old to a 5th grader and what they have been able to accomplish, especially now that we're truly in kind of that 6th and 7th year, we've been able to see our learners truly progress through that whole what I'm learning, what it looks like to be a learner, to now I will need to tell you who I am as a learner so that my learning meets my needs, but also challenges me where I am. What we really are focusing on now is really those assessment pieces. That's one of the areas that we know has been a challenge for us. We are not at a standards-based report card yet, and that is something that my staff has really struggled with because we are still living in the grading, that 4-quarter, we are giving numerical grades, kind of that A to F, 10-point scale. And that's really, really a challenge because students are continuously learning, and our teachers are providing that opportunity for them to constantly reassess. So we are living in both worlds right now. We have a progression of learning here, which we have created our own standards-based report cards to make sure that they are appropriate by those standards that we have deemed that are our power standards, and still living in that grading world. And what the beauty of that is that students no longer really care what their grade is. They want to see that they've mastered the standard. The hard part is that teachers are doing double the work because we are living in both worlds. We have to follow our district guidelines right now, but it is empowering for us to be able to share and for them to hear from their student, hey, this is where I'm mastering things and this is what I still need to work on. So very proud of our led student approach to their learning and their voice in their learning, and really focusing in on those assessment pieces to make sure that we're not giving assessments just to give assessments, but make sure that we are allowing students to assess when they're ready to show their mastery of learning, and that all assessments don't need to look the same because we all learn differently, just as we all can perform at different ways and still get to the same conclusion that we have mastered those standards.
So much richness. I was taking lots of notes, and I've talked to y'all many times before, and I'm still taking notes about your journey. So thank you for sharing. We're going to jump right to question 2. And so in just a minute or two, if you could tell us, and I'm going to start with Nick and Nicole this time, how are you scaling and sustaining the work? And you led to a little bit of it, but if you could tell us more about that. Oh, Nick, I think you're on mute.
There we go. This is bringing back flashbacks to, oh, I won't even say it. All right, to previous video conferences. But from a district perspective, I think now that we have that framework and we've really tried to honor what the teachers want it to be, we're constantly revising it. Schools have gone through and done their self-assessment with it. They did last year. Now they're picking their own. They're picking their own focus for the next year. They've kind of picked their 5-year focus as well, but really letting schools come in from whatever point they're at, and that can be very hard because, like I said, we have schools who are just getting started. On the other hand, we have schools like Griggs that are ready for standards-based report cards. They're already doing them. And from a district perspective, we don't have really any other schools that are ready for that right now. We wouldn't want to force that. There are other steps that have to be in place before you can get to that. But at the same time, we still have to support Griggs. So it's a tough thing to do. We can't just wholesale take our power school person and say, we're going to all standards-based tomorrow. We're just not ready for that. So we have to let places run when they're ready to run. But at the same time, I think it's great because then we have a place like Griggs. It's a great pilot. It's a great place for us to learn because, you know, they've been doing all the work already with parents to get parents to understand the value in this, because I think that parent education piece, as we're transitioning what teaching looks like and what grading looks like, especially, that parent education piece is easy to overlook, and seeing what Griggs is doing with it is really laying the groundwork for the rest of our schools when we get to that point. But I do think if it is a priority, you know, we have to be communicating that, but at the same time, giving people that freedom, giving them that agency as schools, as well as teachers and administrators. But yeah.
And I think from a
Yeah.
school standpoint, one of the things, especially for, I don't have a lot of turnover in our building as far as teachers. And so this year I have 2 new teachers, brand new out of college, and helping them to see, first, we have to make sure that scaling up approach is making sure that we have 6 years under our belt, but not just like we don't expect students to come in at the same place in their learning. We can't expect teachers to be at the same place of their learning. So in that scaling and sustaining the work, making sure that we're meeting the needs of individual teachers and their learning of what does it mean to have that student-centered approach to learning, and giving them those opportunities for professional development, as well as providing time for them to, once they have the professional development, how do I implement this into my classroom to meet the needs of my students? And I think that that's really important for us to make sure that we are still working to see what that time is like, because there's definitely a balance, because you don't want to pull teachers out of their classroom so much that they're not in there helping our students, because in a personalized learning classroom, I will argue that there is more teaching that is happening than if you went back to a traditional classroom, because you are meeting every single learner where they are. And so you are really and truly working with students all day long and not just kind of at that surface level. So helping teachers and sustaining that time, but providing them those opportunities to continue to grow professionally and to be able to collaborate with others is really important for us.
Meg, take it away.
So for us, my first thoughts go to sustaining through our people and then through systems, because unfortunately people do, come and go. And so through our people, we're part of an Arizona Personalized Learning Network. And that is thanks to KnowledgeWorks and Center for the Future of Arizona. And there are 4 districts, and we meet regularly throughout the year. And that's been really helpful to have that network. I reach out to them, not just when we're formally meeting, but hey, how are you guys reporting your portrait of a graduate? Are you going to go formal? Are you doing it informally? To just pick their brains, because we're kind of doing similar things, right? But we're all replicating it. And so that has been very helpful. And it's also been great for accountability, I would have to say. And then we also have what we call launch teams. They also work with KnowledgeWorks, and these are teams. We have people at each of our schools who are part of it. and they go to convenings and they learn, bring it back to their school, they implement, they share with their teams, with their teachers. And we've had a couple of cohorts of launch teams, and now they are supporting the teachers at their sites and often sharing, hey, here's how, we implement standard operating procedures. Here's how you can update them throughout the year. And then somebody else might, be more knowledgeable about building, quality choice boards, let's say. So they are helping to share that information with their staff. And then they are also people that we take teachers who maybe need that push. We take them to those teachers' classrooms. So that is just so helpful in order to build and sustain is, I think, those classroom visits, because it tells the teacher that's being visited, you are a room that we want to take people to. And then the teacher gets to see a colleague who's doing, whatever it is that their goal is. So, and then I'll try to make this quick in terms of systems so that it withstands whoever's here. We do integrated action plans. I'm sure that's a thing somewhere in all of the states, but for our state plan, because we receive federal money, we do have to upload integrated action plans, and not just upload them to the state, but we need to live them. And they include goals and action steps that are based on achievement data. But our action steps, we always include action steps related to personalized competency-based learning, and how can we use that to improve our learner outcomes. So that has been great to see, because what we write down in our plans, all of us are accountable for implementing that. And so I don't always think we should go high accountability, but to a certain extent, once you've done a few years of learning, that's a great way to make sure, are we actually doing this? Because we formally check in on those action steps 4 times per school year. And then finally, we'll be implementing this next year. We're updating what we called our teacher evaluation tool, and it will be a teacher development, feedback, and evaluation tool. And we're actually using our current instructional model. We've had it for years. It's called Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol. So if you have a district with high English learner needs, you might be familiar with it, but there are 8 components to it. And we really didn't want that to go away just because we're trying a new approach to involving our learners. And so we are going to start using the Empower platform. It's one of Marzano's platforms, and he's letting us customize the platform to upload our SIOP components, our instructional model, but we are tweaking some of our rubrics so that in order for a teacher to reach the 3 or the 4 level on the rubric, the learners have to be impacted, or the learners need to be active in that component. Because right now we can have highly effective teachers on our evaluation tool, that the teacher's the one doing everything, right? They're doing a great job, right, presenting, but there's not necessarily an impact on our learners. And so now it's shifting to where that part of the impact on learners is important. And so I put a copy of one of our components in the chat. So if you want to look at it, this is new for us, so don't take red ink to it, but this is what we're able to, we call it a folio, and we're able to upload it. It'll all be electronic. If you're in there, skip past the first 2 pages. These are strategies for implementing review and assessment. And so those are there to support the teacher, and our instructional coaches can help them with these strategies. But if you scroll to page 3, this is the rubric I was talking about. If you look at the developing column, that one's all about the teacher. So I'll go to the 3rd criteria. The teacher provides regular feedback on students' output. Feedback is clear and actionable. Well, to move that to a 3, it's the same statement in the first sentence, but then the feedback is clear and actionable, and students make adjustments based on feedback. And then the level 4 students are tracking their own learning, reflecting on their progress, and providing feedback to themselves with teacher oversight. So I just wanted to model that for how we're kind of taking a very teacher-centered system that we used to have, and we're still using our old system, but we're putting in, we've learned about learning trackers and developing learner agency with KnowledgeWorks. So we're trying to marry everything so that I think it helps send a clear message. And this really should be made for developing our teachers. We want to help them move to level 3 and 4, not just evaluate and say, oh, yep, you were at a 2. Our goal is to move them along so that our students are impacted. So I hope that helped. A little bit of our people and a little bit of our systems.
So good. Thank you so much, Meg, Nicole, and Nick. I think you heard a lot about what is your North Star, what are we centering on, the transparency in the work, and really personalizing for our educators as well in our school systems. And so I'm going to kick it back to Crystal, who's going to talk to us about what's coming next.
Yeah, thank you, Abby, and thank you to all of our panels for sharing this incredible information and kind of next steps as to what districts and their leaders are doing next to meet the needs of all their students. So as I had mentioned in our opening, we have been partnering with KnowledgeWorks and their team over, I don't know, maybe the last 6 months or so, to not only provide and create these webinars to support our folks in the field, but also to create some other documents and resources that we believe will help all districts, regardless of where they join this journey, to move forward. So I just wanted to kind of highlight those and let you know where to find those here in the next few weeks. So the KnowledgeWorks team has created a policy analysis with flexibility guide. So that is outlining and identifying the current flexibilities available under law and regulations in the state of Montana. So doing a lot of that heavy lift that usually falls on the shoulders of our district leaders. So we will have that resource available. They have created a Montana personalized proficiency-based playbook. So that focuses on action areas for moving towards a personalized and proficiency-based learning model, as well as showcasing districts from around our state on their individualized journeys and where they are in this work. Abby and her team are working on some hub course design. So 2 separate modules, one on personalized proficiency-based learning model, and then a second module on graduate profiles, which I had the privilege of beginning the evaluation of those for our Montana State accreditation work last week. So very exciting to be able to see that work that our districts are currently doing, and then I'm hoping that these modules, especially the graduate profile one, will help support and develop that work as it sustains and continues. We will have a self-assessment tool for the personalized proficiency-based learning implementation, similar to what was created back for assessment as that assessment tool and audit as MAST was introduced. So kind of trying to parallel that for our districts who are with us today or looking to listen to this at a later date and time. And then just a plethora of curated resources for families, teachers, and educational leaders. Helping them understand, like, what is personalized proficiency-based learning? How does this impact my child? How does this impact our families and our school communities? So finally, and I see a few of you who've been on here for all 3 of our webinars, but these webinars will have been recorded. They will be posted along with the other materials that I have mentioned on the OPI KnowledgeWorks website. That link is just being finished up, and so I will be sending that to all of our districts, also found on the OPI Compass, as we're ready to push that out when those resources are published there here in the next couple of weeks. So I think, Abby, hopefully I've covered everything. I know that your team has been busy, being able to help provide, support in the source of resources and documents for the state of Montana. So I just want to thank you, as well as all of the wonderful panelists that you have brought to our webinars over the last couple of weeks.
Thanks so much, Crystal. You nailed it. Thanks, Meg, Nicole, and Nick. Appreciate you spending time with us this morning.
Thank you.